It's over to me. Anyway, this week we didn't have time to do a live tie, unfortunately, but I've had quite a few requests about tying the Donny Brasco. So we decided that we'd just film this one and shoot it through to our IGTV channel so everyone can have a bit of a look at it. It's a pretty easy fly to tie, but it's super effective on the golden perch. So I'll quickly go through the equipment, but we do need to keep this one a little bit tight. So you'll need some scissors, your bodkin or your bobbin loaded up with 210 denier thread, and just your bodkin for right at the end for smearing around the UV resin. And then in terms of materials, you'll need some Magnum sized or 6mm wide rabbit strip. This is my preferred color, in that orange black over tan. You'll need some crystal flash, just for a subtle bit of flash on the flanking. So on this one we're going to put root beer, but you could also use gold if that was an option to you. Two very good golden perch colors. You'll need a little bit of craft fur. So we'll put this under the belly just to give it that color contrast and a bit of a yabby egg sac kind of look about the fly. So a bit of craft fur. For the front of the fly, you'll need some cross-cut rabbit. So in this one, we're going to use the Tywell 3mm wide in the black. That just gives it a bit of contrast and a bit of a bulky kind of head. And then your weight system can be your weight of choice. But for this particular one, we'll use the double pupil medium lead dumbbells from Hairline. Okay, but if you want a fly that goes a little bit deeper, then you'd go to the next size up and go to the large version of that. And then if you really wanted to fish some deep water, you'd consider putting some tungsten dumbbells on the front to get that fly down super deep. All right, and the all important part is the hook, and this is my go-to hook for golden perch at Windermere. It's the Gamakatsu B10S in the size 1. It's just it's proven itself over too many years to even bother looking for something else. So that's the one. Anyway, what I've done is that I've attached some dumbbells to the hook shank already, as I was pre-tying a few. And I've set these dumbbells back around about, or probably about 6 mils back from behind the hook eye. Okay, we want a little platform here to have enough space to allow for the cross-cut head to be finished off just here. And that's about it. So we'll start our thread work back along, just right behind the eyes. We're just going to wrap that thread back to a little bit in front of the hook point, not too far. A really simple fly to tie, guys, so you should be able to come up with some color schemes and that sort of thing to suit your own fishery. You could upscale this fly, you could downscale it, to suit your requirements. But at this size, during spring, seems to be the go. Anyway, just cut off a small clump of craft fur and just fixed up the tip section a little bit so that I've created a bit of a taper. And just make sure that you've got that around the right way. I'm just going to bind those over, just like so. Just wrap that down, and you can see that there is the gap between the back of the dumbbell and where I have finished or bound in the craft fur. It's probably about 6 or 7 mils again, probably 7 mils. So that's just going to give us a bit of a platform to put the Zonka strip on. So that's enough. You don't need too much more than that. That's really about it. Just gives it a nice orange belly to the fly. Gives it a bit more body underneath the fly as well. So, and from there, we're going to get some cross cut. Normally just knock that first bit off. Okay. And turn this over so that the hook point is riding up. And then from there, we want to pierce this skin. So there's probably, I don't know, close to 15 mils worth of space there. Okay, so we're going to pierce that in the middle, like so. Push the barb through. Take your hook out of the vise and then lay that platform or lay that hide onto that thread platform, just like so. And then keeping it all in place. And take a couple of wraps and bind that down, just like so. Now you can see I work with the full strips of rabbit. I don't pre-cut. What I do cut once I'm finished though, I use this marker as my tail length, and so I just put the scissor tip straight through there and knock that off. Okay. And then I'm not guessing and wasting rabbit. You know, the next one goes, you know, straight on and then cut and then straight on and then cut. So just maximizing your materials. All right, so that's looking pretty good. We've got a rabbit wing and a craft fur belly. And now we just want to add some crystal flash to the flanks. So grab your crystal flash out of your packet. You don't need much of this. I have one piece per side, basically. So I'm going to wrap that around my thread, or fold it around my thread, and bind it down. Okay, just like so. Then I clip that so it's about the same length as where the rabbit hide finishes. Okay, so you end up with a little bit of flash that sits alongside and towards the bottom half of that belly, just like so. Wrap and bind it down. Then you can tidy everything up with a couple of well-positioned thread wraps and then trim, just like so. Okay, so that's pretty, should be able to understand that and get the positioning of your materials right there. And then it's time for the cross-cut rabbit collar. So in this packet, you sort of get three long strips. They're joined together. I normally just rip one off. And just work out which way the grain is going, or the grain of the fur. And then I bind that little tag end right on the side of the hook shank, just like so. Then I fill in that little bit of cavity that sits behind the dumbbells, then advance my thread forward of the dumbbells. So now my thread is sitting right there. At this point, you can drop in a little bit of super glue, okay, onto that platform. And this is professional super glue from Loctite. And what that does, it helps bind that collar to that thread base. Makes a really nice durable fly. And you can see that I'm taking a few wraps there, filling up behind the head. And then one more, and then I advance that, almost cross over the front of the dumbbell, and I need to tie it off where we initially left that little platform of thread right behind the hook eye. So take a wrap. Ooh, make that look messy. Take a wrap. There we go. Got things back under control. I'm going to clip that off, just like so. And then finish that head off. Just build that up a little bit. Not towards the front, but more towards the back of that hook eye, so to speak. And then give that a couple of whip finishes. I'd at least go 2. And then if you need to tidy up the head, you could probably go 3, and then just position your thread wraps exactly where they need to be. And cut your thread away. And that's the fly. So we're ready for the resin head now, which is just the finishing touch. So I usually start with the hook point down, and I put in a little bit of resin over the thread of the dumbbells, and just so it captures that little bit of exposed hide from your cross cut. And spin your vise around if you've got a rotary vise. Just give it a nice little clean amount. Not too much when you're using the resin, just little bits. Put it and push it around where you need to. And that's where your bodkin can come into play as well. You can sort of push it into those little nooks, just making sure you're grabbing some of that exposed hide that you'll be able to see that sits just around the dumbbells. And then with your torch, just hang on a sec, guys. I have to just reset. Okay, then with your torch, just set that off. Things can go wrong when you're filming, but anyway, that's okay. No need to panic. That resin wasn't going anywhere because there wasn't too much on it. And then that's really your fly. There's a couple little fibers in there, and then that's where your cautery tool can come into play. You can just jam them in there and burn them out, just like so. Don't put it near the rabbit though. Get rid of those and clean them up. And happy days. That's your Donny Brasco. And that's my preferred colour actually. That tiger barred with the black head. So that's him. That's the fly. Just like so. It's probably about 70 mils all up in the length. If you're trying to get your proportions right. The size 1 hook. 6 mil rabbit is by far the more durable. And then that nice bunny collar at the front just gives it a lot of movement in the water. You could use a brush if you want to, and I use brushes as well, but the bunny makes for a nice head, nice natural sort of fly. Anyway, we'll have a Donny Brasco kit available so that you can tie that fly, and then that kit will then match with this video that you've watched, and they'll be available to purchase through our website. And this, if you're watching this, you're probably watching it on our IGTV channel. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you got a couple of tips out of that you can implement at your bench. Until next time, thank you very much. Cheers.